Hello, America! JOC here with your Ranting Politics headline updates, where we are diving into today's most explosive political stories that you need to know about. Coming up, we're diving into the dramatic rescue of our stranded astronauts who finally made it back to Earth after 9 long months in space. Then, we'll break down a federal judge's explosive ruling that's putting the brakes on DOGE's attempts to dismantle USAID. We'll also get into the latest peace talks between Trump and Putin on Ukraine, and wrap it up with a massive dump of JFK assassination files that's got conspiracy theorists working overtime. Stick around for all this and more in your daily dose of unfiltered news and common sense commentary. This is Ranting Politics Headline Updates. In what can only be described as a space odyssey turned political football, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have finally returned to Earth after an extended 9-month stay aboard the International Space Station. What was supposed to be an 8-day mission turned into a headline-grabbing saga when their Boeing capsule malfunctioned, leaving them stuck in orbit. SpaceX came to the rescue yesterday, bringing our astronauts home with a picture-perfect splashdown off the coast of Tallahassee. The Dragon Freedom capsule touched down just before 6 p.m. Eastern, with both astronauts grinning ear to ear as they were helped onto the recovery vessel. Talk about a smooth operator. Those SpaceX parachutes deployed flawlessly, bringing our space travelers home at a gentle 16 miles per hour after screaming through the atmosphere at a whopping 17,500 miles per hour. But here's where it gets spicy, folks. During their extended stay, these dedicated astronauts didn't just twiddle their thumbs. They conducted around 150 experiments, logging about 900 hours of crucial research. However, the political atmosphere down here on Earth was heating up faster than their re-entry shield. Elon Musk dropped a bombshell, claiming that SpaceX had a rescue capsule ready to go back in September, but the previous administration allegedly passed on the opportunity. Even Butch Wilmore himself chimed in from orbit, backing up Musk's version of events. And yes, there was some classic political theater, with heated debates about who was responsible for leaving our astronauts up there for so long. The good news is, both astronauts are now safely back on terra firma, though they'll need some time to readjust to gravity at Johnson Space Center in Houston. And get this, they've even scored an invitation to the Oval Office once they're back on their feet. This marathon space stay puts them 6th on the all-time list for continuous days in space, clocking in at 286 days. Not exactly the record they were planning to break, but hey, sometimes life throws you a cosmic curveball. Not a federal judge just dropped a constitutional bombshell on the Trump administration's efforts to dismantle USAID. Maryland District Judge Theodore Chuang ruled that Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency likely violated the Constitution when they tried to shut down the foreign aid agency. And folks, this isn't just a minor slap on the wrist. The judge's ruling packs a serious punch, ordering the administration to restore email and computer access to all USAID employees, and effectively blocking DOGE from making any more moves without explicit authorization. We're talking about the complete reversal of what was supposed to be one of DOGE's crown jewel achievements, the elimination of $60 billion in foreign aid spending and 92% of USAID grants. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The judge took particular issue with Musk's role in all of this. While Trump has publicly called Musk the boss of this cost-cutting initiative, administration lawyers have been trying to downplay his position as just a special government employee. Judge Chuang wasn't buying it. He pointed out that if presidents could dodge the Constitution's appointments clause by having advisors exercise significant authority throughout the federal government, it would reduce the clause to nothing more than a technical formality. Musk's response? Well, he took to X, formerly Twitter, amplifying a post suggesting the left's constitution only has 2 clauses, open borders and sending American money abroad. The State Democracy Defenders Fund, representing the plaintiffs, is calling this a milestone victory against what they're describing as DOGE's attack on USAID, the United States government, and the Constitution itself. So what we're seeing here is a classic clash between executive authority and constitutional limits, with Musk caught right in the middle of this high-stakes political and legal battle. The administration has 7 days to confirm they've restored access to USAID employees and 2 weeks to submit documentation, ensuring the agency can return to its headquarters. Stay tuned, folks. This story is far from over. In a major diplomatic development today, Presidents Trump and Putin engaged in a 90-minute phone call that could mark a turning point in the Ukraine conflict. The White House reports both leaders have agreed to immediate negotiations in the Middle East, starting with a mutual ceasefire against energy infrastructure attacks. Trump took to Truth Social, calling the conversation very good and productive, highlighting that both Putin and Zelensky are eager to see an end to the conflict where thousands of soldiers have been killed. The deal on the table includes several key components, with Putin agreeing to return 23 seriously wounded Ukrainian soldiers to Kiev as a gesture of goodwill. But here's where things get interesting. Putin made it clear that completely stopping military aid to Ukraine is his non-negotiable condition for ending the war. This follows a U.S.-backed proposal from last week's Saudi Arabia talks, which promised Ukraine renewed American military support and intelligence sharing, along with an immediate 30-day ceasefire. The conversation went beyond just Ukraine, touching on bilateral relations, economic opportunities, and even Iran's position regarding Israel. Both leaders apparently see significant potential in improved U.S.-Russia relations, particularly in economic deals and geopolitical stability once peace is achieved. This marks their second discussion since mid-February, and while the diplomatic wheels are turning, the State Department maintains that the ball is now in Russia's court to accept the comprehensive ceasefire deal that Ukraine has already agreed to. Whether this latest round of talks will lead to concrete progress remains to be seen, but it's certainly the most substantial diplomatic engagement we've seen in months. Breaking news on the JFK assassination files front, as the Trump administration has just released a massive trove of 80,000 documents related to one of America's most enduring mysteries. According to Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, these files are being released completely unredacted, marking what she calls a new era of maximum transparency. The release comes just days into Trump's second term, following his executive order demanding a comprehensive plan for releasing not just the JFK files, but also documents related to the assassinations of Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. This latest dump means we now have access to about 98% of all JFK assassination-related files. Initial reviews show fascinating details about Lee Harvey Oswald's activities before the shooting, including his attempts to obtain a Soviet visa through the embassy in Mexico City. One particularly intriguing document reveals Oswald's interactions with Valery Kostakov, a former KGB agent who specialized in sabotage and assassination, though the CIA later dismissed this connection as coincidental. The files also shed light on the CIA's global operations during the 1960s and their monitoring of international reactions to the assassination. One document tracks how the agency responded to an Italian newspaper article suggesting CIA involvement in Kennedy's death. While administration officials aren't expecting any major bombshells from these documents, they provide crucial context to the Warren Commission's investigation. This release marks a significant step toward full transparency, though it's unlikely to silence the majority of Americans who still believe Kennedy's death was the result of a broader conspiracy. Remember, these are the same files that previous administrations, including both Trump's first term and Biden's presidency, released in smaller portions. The difference now is the complete removal of redactions, giving historians and researchers unprecedented access to the full historical record. And that wraps up today's incredible news roundup. From the triumphant return of our stranded astronauts, to constitutional showdowns over USAID, breakthrough peace talks for Ukraine, and the massive JFK files release, it's been quite a day in American politics and history. Stay up to date with all our latest coverage by following us on X @RantingRP. You can also catch full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. For deeper dives into these stories and more, visit us at rantingpolitics.com. This is JOC signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics headline updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.